everyone, welcome to my show, My View Review. I am Aryan, and in today's episode of My View Review, I will give you a review of book The Heart of Pareting by John Gotttman. The book was released in 1997, and to this day, the findings of their research is still valid. So let's get started. How I landed on this book. Actually, I was just watching some videos and documentaries about raising child and all, and then this book and this author John Gotttman was recommended, so I was like, let's give it a try. Problem is, like, when you become a parent and they give you your child in the hospital, there is no child manual that comes with it, like this is how you operate this machine, or this is how you have to use this. With the children, it's all learning as you go. For the first 3 months, it's difficult.
You will never eat, you will never sleep, you will never stop. But you just have to manage their basic needs. It's just feeding them, changing their nappies, and make sure they're comfortable and they sleep, because they sleep a lot. And they won't let you sleep because their sleep cycle is every 2 hours. They wake up to feed. And I know back in the days when I watched that film Fight Club, and they were talking about insomnia and being awake, and I was wondering how that might feel like. And when I had a child, I exactly knew what that guy felt and what the protagonist of the film was going through with his insomnia problem, not being able to sleep. So you can feel it. It's like I felt like I was a walking zombie in that first 3 months period. And then as months pass by, the sleeping pattern gets easier and things get easier. But there another journey starts. Being a parent, you just want to give your child the best of everything that you can. Best food, best clothes, best school, best everything. But there is one main important aspect on how to raise your child. We live in 20th century, and in this day and age, you need to empathetically connect with your child. You're not supposed to shout at them. You're not supposed to hit them at all. And you have to be emotionally intelligent yourself in order to help them grow as an emotionally intelligent person. And by that, I mean the child needs to understand the feelings. So these are all coming from the book and the things that I've learned from it. You need to make sure your child understands the feeling of the fear and happiness, sadness, anger. They should know what they are feeling and how to calm themselves and how to come out of that situation and not dwell on it. Because if you dwell on sadness and anger for a long time, you will go into depression. And if you don't know how to deal with these emotions, then it will be difficult for you to connect with other people. And how you raise your child is very important. Since I do lots of film reviews, I will give you an example of another review. The Butterfly Effect, that is a brilliant film. If that film, it also gives you about like the time travel or changing the past, changing the future and all that. It's a wonderful film. I do recommend it. Another important thing that you would learn from that film is the childhood. How much the decisions and the emotions that you go through in the childhood will affect and shape your future. And it scared me, that film scared me a little, that how come really tiny things can affect the future of that child dramatically. So it's very important to give them very good childhood and to do your best. So that was my quest, and then I just embarked into the journey of learning more and more about it. And plus, the day and age that we live in, I'll read you an aspect of the book which will just sell the book to you. It's the beginning of it, and it says, behind the deterioration lie large forces. For one, the new economic realities means parents have to work harder than earlier generation to support their families, which means that most of the parents have less free time to spend with their children than their own parents had spent with them. More and more families live far away from relatives, often in the neighborhoods where parents of the young children are afraid to let them play on the street, let alone in the neighbor's house. And more hours in children's lives are spent staring at the video screen, whether it's watching TV or a computer monitor, which means they are not out playing with other children. But in the long spread of human history, the way children have learned basic emotion skills has been from their parents, relatives, neighbors, and playing with other children. The consequences of failing to learn the basic of emotion intelligence are increasingly dire. Evidence suggests, for example, that girls who fail to learn to distinguish between feeling like anxiety and hunger are most at risk of eating disorders, while those who have trouble controlling impulses in the early lives are most likely to get pregnant by the end of their teens. For boys, impulsivity in the early years may angular a heightened risk of delinquency or violence, and for all children, inability to handle anxiety and depression increases the likelihood of later abusing drugs or alcohol. Given these new realities, parents need to make the best use of the golden moments they have with their children, taking a purposeful and active role in coaching their children in key human skills like understanding and handling troubling feelings, controlling impulses, and empathy. So there you have it. For children, it's very important to teach them. Now, how you would teach it. In this book, they will teach the main thing is you need to be empathetic for your child. You need to understand what they are coming from. You need to put yourself in the shoes of a child. A tiny little brain. You cannot expect a 3-year-old, 2-year-old, 1-year-old to understand. You need to come downstairs to their brain level to understand what they are going through. Like losing a toy for you would be nothing, but for that child, that little toy or that little blankie is everything. And if you do not come to their level to understand what they are feeling and deal with the situation in that way, they would feel that you don't understand them. And if they feel that parents don't understand them in the early life, when they reach the teenage life, they would feel the same thing. They will be distant from the parents, and they will say like, they don't understand me. What I'm going through is only my own journey. And that's the reason that so many children just start abusing drugs and alcohol and find themselves in the bad company, and instead of sharing their problems with their parents, they will go to someone else. And if that person is good, you're lucky. But if that person is bad and it's gonna make your child join gangs or do bad things or enforce them to indulge into the things which they can't judge between if it's right or wrong, they're just following just because it's cool to do that at this time, you will end up facing consequences of all those problems. So it's best to start it in earlier age and connect with your children. And if you want to discipline them and if you want to guide them, the main thing that this book teaches is by enforcing the good behavior. Even if they have done little good thing, if you enforce it, they will try to do it again. And if they are lashing out, that they're crying their eyes out, they want to buy that toy, and if you come to talk to them and try to listen to them so they could connect with you in the next level, they will calm down. So if they are acting out sometimes, instead of being angry, you would feel more empathy, you would understand your child more, and you will give them the love and trust and direction that they need, instead of being told off and being slapped or something that will stick in their brain and push them in the wrong direction or push them away from you. You will lose the connection from your child. So it's very important to connect with them. Empathy is the key. And with this book, it also has lots of questions. So there will be lots of questionnaires that you will fill in, and based on your answers, they will decide what's your style of parenting and how you can improve. Do you understand your own emotions? And all these will help you in your own relationship with your partner as well, and with your own parents, and with other people as well. So it's very important to read this book or books like this that will guide you through being an empathetic person. As in this book, they have done research on lots of families and what problems they have been going through and all. Like, there was this girl where her parents have really discouraged the idea of fear, like fear is nothing, and she later on became a pilot. And when they had to make decision, because she doesn't understand the fear of the fear, she was never allowed to experience fear and the emotion of fear. So she took a drastic measure, and which was dangerous, and she took it, and that cost her life and life of other people as well. So it's very important to let your children know. They should be aware of what's going on, and if they could emotionally handle their feelings themselves, and they know that you're there for them, it will help you in the long run to have good connections with your children. Because for me, the most important thing was, I want my children to come to me if they have a problem, or to be able to share their problem with me. I had a really good connection, luckily, with my parents, and I could talk to them and share with them my problems without the feeling of being judged. Like, my dad was my best friend. I could tell everything to him, and I wanted to do the same to my child. And that was the best feeling, because I was the only child, and if I didn't have the support and empathy and the connection with my dad and with my family, I don't know what decision I would have made, or I would have felt really lonely. So, takeaway from the book is, do not be angry or too negative or too critical of your children. Like, if you are constantly enforcing, oh, she's shy, oh, you're stupid, oh, you're lazy, those labels that the parents, being the closest relative or closest person to a child, if they are labeling their child as lazy and stupid, they will never have the courage to achieve something big, do something better for the environment or for themselves. Or how are you going to expect someone who's been labeled stupid all his life to do something great? So you have to be very careful with the words you choose with your child, and to connect with them, always enforce the good things. And if they have done something bad, discuss with them later on. Like, if at that moment there's neighbor around us, or you have relatives visiting you and your child has done something bad, don't just scold them in front of everyone. Try to handle the situation, pause it there, clean up or whatever, and then later on talk to them one-to-one, like, what you did wasn't right, why you did it, maybe we should have done this way. And also, one more thing that it says, for example, if your child has done, or even there was an example where a woman had a problem with the colleague, and the solution was simple, but if the husband had sit down with her and listened to her problem, and then suggested, like, steering them to the direction that they make the decision is best, rather than you forcing that this is what should be done, was one example of 3 families. Whereas one person is just talking to his daughter, they live in a separate life, and he sent her a Barbie doll, and she's like, oh, daddy, thank you for the doll, but I don't play with dolls anymore, I'm not into something else. But because he never had the connection, he didn't know. In the second, the husband comes home to dinner and his children are around, and children are playing games, and then come, they eat food, and the child wants to talk to the dad, and it's like, we'll do it later, continue talking about mortgage and stuff with his wife, and that's the end of the evening. And then the third one, the husband comes home to a nice dinner, and he's talking to his children, okay, how did your day go? And the daughter had some ballet lesson. I was like, oh, how was your friend? She was like, she was a bit upset. Like, no, she didn't come, so we had to cancel it again. I was like, oh, her health issues are triggering again. Maybe you can try to do some practice at home so you don't feel behind and all. And she was like, yeah, daddy, that's a good idea, I will do that. And then he was talking to his son, how did your match go? And he was like, yeah, first half was good, the second half John fall down and blah blah blah. So he knew exactly what is his children's friend's name and what activities they were doing. So the conversation happened really nicely. So the children felt connected with their father. They know he knew exactly what's happening in the life of the children, and he could suggest them, guide them, and have a playful conversation. It's like the family bonding all together, rather than just feeling that you're the king of the house and you're making all the decisions and you don't care what's happening inside and you're just breadwinner. So all of that and much more. So I really liked the book. Thank you for watching this video all the way. If you had liked this video, please subscribe to the channel, join the fun, and I will see you in my next video. Until then, look after yourself and your family.